With me is Dr. James Boys, who's a professor in international politics at the American International University in London. James Boys, is this essentially just a ceremonial farewell visit with little political significance?
Well, in many ways it is, of course. What we see here is President Bush desperately trying to craft for himself a legacy of some sort. He's flying around the world. He's been in Europe this past week, desperately trying to draw some sort of a legacy to his own administration, which of course is going to be dominated by Iraq and the faltering economy which is currently hitting the United States at this time.
But at this stage in his presidency, is anyone really taking any notice of what he says?
Well, this is the ultimate question, and I think we can see by the almost lack of protests out in the streets compared to previous trips that really the focus has shifted now to the next occupant of the White House, be that Barack Obama or John McCain.
It's extraordinary when you think of the riots that there have been across various European capitals when he showed up in the past. They've had difficulty sometimes in holding the line with the water cannon and all this sort of stuff, and now it's hardly caused a stir.
Well, this is right. We need to determine here between the man and the office. This is George W. Bush arriving as President of the United States, but very much as a lame duck president. And within a very short few months, we will have a new occupant in the Oval Office. And I think people are turning to that point in time already.
He couldn't really have chosen a worse time to try to grab the attention of European leaders, could he? They're all distracted now by the crisis that the Irish referendum has plunged them into.
Of course, but we need to remember, of course, this trip would have been planned many, many months beforehand. But he's also trying to draw upon the support of people like Angela Merkel and Berlusconi, of course, who are much more sympathetic to the United States, arguably than perhaps the current administration here in the United Kingdom is to a Bush administration.
What does he want to be the centrepiece of his legacy? All politicians go on about legacies, but what does George Bush want written there in gold letters?
Well, I think it's very clear from the interview he's given just to the Observer this weekend that he sees himself very much as a liberator, someone who has freed thousands of people from tyranny. And I think that's very much going to be the words that he wants written in bold when we discuss his legacy moving forward. Whether that will be the case, of course, is another matter.
And will it have any effect, anything of what he does while he's in Europe and while he's here, on the thinking of the two candidates for the presidency now?
I think it will have less impact upon the two candidates and more upon the leaders of Europe. He's clearly trying to send a message, which is, I might be leaving, but the message of the United States and the mission of the United States will go on, which is to forge freedom and democracy around the world. Very much trying to plant a flag, I believe, with European leaders and possibly with the two candidates running for office at this time.
James Boyce, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you.